Hello and welcome to one and all. So in this class, we'll discuss about the measures to improve the agricultural productivity in India. So in the previous class, we have checked out what are all the causes for low productivity in Indian agriculture. So we'll continue with the what are all the measures to improve that productivity in agricultural sector. So the first measure is to rectify the institutional causes. You need the institutional reforms. So institutional reforms or arrangements. So that land tenure system, uh, the system of land tenure prevailing in our country was defective. So that has to be rectified. Okay. So the first one, what the government has to do is, which the government have already done also, is introducing the land reforms. So land reforms in the form of one of the measures of land reform is abolition of all those intermediaries, like all those zamindars and other type of intermediaries that were existing, which the system which was introduced by the Britishers. So that system was abolished by the government after introducing land reforms. So along with the land reforms, the government introduced the tenancy reforms also. So the tenancy reforms, the main aim of the tenancy reforms is to distribute the land. The tenant has to be made as the owner of that land. Okay. So as long as he is being a tenant only, I mean, he will not show that much interest, isn't it? So ultimate solution for the farmer is he has to be made as the owner of that piece of land. So the tenancy reforms what the government has done is taking the extra, imposing the land ceiling, that is what should be the maximum amount of land that could be held by a farmer, imposing a ceiling, and then taking all the surplus land from the rich landlords and distributing that surplus land to the small and marginal farmers, so that he or she will become the owner of that piece of land. And then the next area where the farmers are finding it very, very difficult is to obtain the institutional credit. Most of the time, they have to borrow only from the money lenders who are exploiting the farmers. So all the banks and other financial institutions, including the cooperatives and all, they should be lending loans to the farmers at a lesser rate of interest. So providing the institutional credit to the farmers. And the next area, what the government can do and is doing is supply of all the agricultural inputs in the form of quality seeds, whatever is required, seeds, fertilizers, pesticides. So all those agricultural inputs should be, the government agencies of the government should be providing all those agricultural inputs at a reasonable cost, at a subsidized prices to the farmers. Then after cultivation, after the harvesting season is over, the farmers, they need, to store the crops till they can sell the commodities at a better price in the market. So for that, they needed a proper storage facilities. So providing adequate warehousing facilities to the farmers, so that they will not be desperate to sell their crops immediately after the harvesting season is over at a lesser price. And the next one is improving the, finally, selling the commodity in the market at the market price with proper, for that the transportation system should be improved, the road should be improved in the rural areas, and then the marketing system should be improved in the area where they have to sell the commodities in the market. So all those improving the agricultural marketing conditions. So only then the farmer is going to get the better price for whatever the commodity is selling, and he will get the proper returns. Okay. So all these are in stages. All these are required if the productivity in agricultural sector has to improve or increase. Okay. So these are all the institutional reforms or arrangements the government has to undertake. Then the next major area where the farmer is finding the problem is increasing the irrigation facilities. So increasing the irrigation facilities. So we are saying that still 55% of the land, they're still depending upon rainfall. So this increasing the irrigation facilities along with adequate power supply. So they should not be having the erratic power supply, then it is a waste. So adequate power supply should be provided along with improving the irrigation facilities also. So it has been said that if the irrigation facilities results in nearly threefold increase in agricultural productivity per annum per hectare. Understood? So if there are proper, with the same piece of land, if it is the proper water supply is there, then the productivity will increase threefold per annum per hectare. Okay. So adequate irrigation facilities should be provided to the majority of the farmers. Still 55% they are depending upon rainfall. So if there is a proper irrigation facilities, then imagine how much threefold per hectare. So how many hectares are not having with no proper without any irrigation facilities? So how much the productivity in the agriculture sector can increase, you can imagine. Okay. Then so there are, of course, India is one of the uh, India is, in fact, India is the only country that has provided the major amount of irrigation facilities. I mean, the maximum amount of hectares or acres of land have been covered under the irrigation facilities after attaining the independence. Okay, but still it is not sufficient. So irrigate, and most of the projects, most of them have not even completed, even though they started in 1950s. Majority of the multi-purpose projects, still it is not completed. So the government, I mean, it has to be seen to it that uh, the projects are completed and ultimately the farmers are able to get that irrigation facilities. Then the third area is improving the returns to the farmers. So improving returns to the farmers. So in this area, the government can take two types of measures. One is price measures. So price measures in the form of minimum support price. So minimum support prices, normally the price the farmers can get for that whatever the crop which they are selling, that should be supporting them, that will be reasonably high enough for them to support their their family, themselves as well as their family. So the price should be reasonably high so that the farmer is getting the certain amount of money income after selling the crops. So this minimum support price, it is actually the government is through the Food Corporation of India, the government purchases the products from the crops or whatever the products from the farmers by assuring them the minimum support price, and later the Food Corporation of India through the ration shops, they are selling it in the to the consumers. So that is happening at a later part. Till the time the crops are, I mean, stored in the warehouses, and later the Food Corporation of India releases at the retail level. But before that, the Food Corporation of India purchases the products from the farmers. At that time, they have to assure a certain minimum support price, irrespective of whatever the price that is going to prevail later in the market. Okay. So this minimum support price that is offered by the government through the Food Corporation of India should be reasonably high enough to support the family. It should not be very low. Normally, what is happening? The farmers are desperate. The farmers are desperate to sell the commodities after the harvest. So after the harvesting, there is a plenty of commodities available, isn't it? So the supply is more during that point of time. Because of the adequate supply, the price comes down. And when the price comes down, the farmer is not getting any proper returns. So they are not making any profit, or they are not getting any reasonable return. So in order to avoid that, the government is purchasing the commodities from the farmers. So when the Food Corporation of India is purchasing the commodities from the farmers, they should provide a reasonable price to the farmers. That is called as the minimum support price. Okay, and that is a price measure. Then the second thing what the government can do is taking non-price measures. Non-price measures in the form of providing the subsidies. Subsidies for what? Subsidies to buy the agricultural input, seeds, fertilizers, or whatever. The government can provide the subsidies to the farmers. And the government can announce the crop insurance scheme to cover them against the loss, erratic supply of power, erratic climatic conditions. So the crop insurance scheme. And then, of course, trying the level best to reduce the population pressure on land by encouraging the small scale and cottage industries. So reducing the population pressure on land. And then that will provide by providing the alternative employment in the sense that allied activities of agriculture, then in this cottage and small scale industries. So through that, the government can, the farmers will not be depending desperately to on agriculture. And apart from that, they can also, that we have seen, isn't it, that lacks enterprise. Like agriculture in our country is not having that enterprise system. So that should be changed. So introducing managerial concept also in the agriculture. So it will be better organized. So how we are having in the industries, this more managerial concept like we are having in the industries. So it will be better, agriculture will also be better organized, and it will raise the efficiency. The productivity will increase. Okay. So these are all the price and non-price measures that will enable a reasonable rate of returns to the farmers. Out of whatever the produce which they are cultivating, they will get a certain amount of money income. Okay. Then the next thing what measure suggested is the fourth one, far most important, education of the farmer, so that their conservative and superstitious beliefs will be tackled. So educating, so in what are all the areas the farmers should be educated? First one, educating the farmers with modern techniques. So they should be made aware of the usage of modern techniques, first thing, and also what are the advantages of that modern techniques. Then the next one, how to use the land and water resources optimally. That is with there is a so much of wastage of land and especially water is happening because of the lack of knowledge of how to use it judiciously or properly. Okay, so without any wastage, because everything is very very scarce, isn't it? They don't have the irrigation facilities, and land is very scarce, water is also very very scarce. So under that condition, these two resources should not be wasted. So educating the farmers how to use these resources judiciously without any wastage. So in that way also the farmers can be educated without any wastages. Okay, and apart from that, better agricultural research. So agricultural research in like soil testing, what type of, based on the fertility of the soil, what type of crops can be cultivated. So those can be done. Okay, and suitable, because what is happening, see, the soil loses its fertility over a period of time, isn't it? So the farmers, because of their ignorance, generation after generation, continuously they're cultivating the same type of crop. Crop rotation should be there. So crop rotation will conserve the fertility of the soil. Isn't it? So all these techniques are, the farmers are not aware of all these techniques. So that, I mean, over a period of time, the soil is not suitable, no longer suitable for that same type of crop. So different type of crop should be cultivated. For that, the testing of the soil should be done. Okay, so these are all the things should be done, and farmers should be educated. I mean, you change the method of cultivation, you change the type of crop, because the soil is no longer suitable for this type of crop. So like that. And suitable, apart from soil testing, suitable agroclimatic regional planning, meaning forecasting the weather depending upon the climatic conditions. Again, what type of crops can be cultivated? So the climatic conditions are also not stable, isn't it? They keep changing. And making the research, forecasting the weather, and that kind of crop can be cultivated. So the farmers have to be advised, because of this climatic conditions in this rabi season or whatever it is in the coming season, you start cultivating this kind of crop. So like that, the farmers have to be advised, the farmers have to be educated. So all this will definitely to increase the will definitely increase the agricultural productivity in the country. Okay, so now these are all the causes and measures of for increasing the agricultural productivity in our country. Hope you have understood. And this is from the board exam point of view, this is one of the very important questions. Okay, so please go through it again, and if you have any doubts, please mention it in the comment box. And if you find this video useful, please like, share, and subscribe. So from the next class onwards, we will one by one, that starting with the what are all the reforms introduced by the government, starting with the land reforms. So now we have seen what are all the measures the government has to implement, and we will see what are all the reforms, what are all the measures the government has already implemented. So those one by one we will see from the next class onwards, starting with the land reforms in India. Okay. So until my next class, next video, take care. Bye bye.